starting to smell just a little bit of smoke, a little bit of ozone. And so he's like, we need to get on the ground now. I was working on some training. I had completed my private training, and then I flew for, the 50 hours. I wanted to go straight into my instrument rating. So I go to the school, looking around. I don't have a flight instructor, but I have an airplane. And I'm like, hey, is there anybody here who's a private pilot who wants to go for a flight, get some time, do some time building, and just sit under the hood? One of the students said, yeah, I'll go with you. And so we take off, we get ready, do the full briefing, and we take off and we start flying south through the valley. We get about 15, 20 miles south of the airport and starting to smell just a little bit of smoke, a little bit of ozone type smell in the cockpit. And the pilot next to me points over to the panel and sees that the red light for the low voltage warning was on. And this particular aircraft, sometimes it would trip the breaker or that sort of thing, and you would just turn the alternator off, turn it back on, and the light would go out. Well, I turned it off, I turned it back on, and it's still lit, but we're still starting to smell this smoke. Turn the alternator off, he grabs the checklist, and he's talking about, he starts reading, low voltage, go through the checklist. Okay, we started with the checklist, and then the last item on there is terminate flight. And so he's like, we need to get on the ground now. And I'm like, no, we don't need to get on the ground now. Okay, we turn this off. We're not in an emergency situation at this point, but we probably don't want to complete the flight and try and come back. With the alternator turned off, the smoke smell, the ozone smell is not increasing. So we decide to just go through the rest of the checklist, which is shed load. So we turn off all the unnecessary stuff. We keep the transponder on, we keep COM 1 on, we turn COM 2 off, we turn all the lights off. We call on the CTAF and say, pan, we're coming in, and we're just gonna fly straight in. Make a little room for us. We'll try and fit in if anybody's there. What had happened was the positive cable from the alternator had come loose and was grounding out to the alternator chassis, creating a short for the system. And when we turned the alternator off, that cable was no longer connected to the hot side of the battery, so it was no longer getting hot and no longer shorting out. If we kept that alternator going, it probably would have started an electrical fire, and we would have had to terminate immediately. So each situation is different, and you can address them and have some aeronautical decision making for each flight.